Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. What's up, everybody? What we doing today?
What's going on?
What's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up? How you doing there, Callow?
I'm good.
What's happening?
Good. It's hot here. It's hot.
Made some money last night, did you?
Yes.
Do all right with that Celtics win last night?
Yeah, I texted our buddy Tim Murray because I tailed him on the Celtics -1.5 on the game line. Yeah, that was a nice little play there. I was not in doubt, but yeah, it was nice to cash in early.
No, after game one, nothing was in doubt after that one. It was just a matter of like, how long is it going to actually take? And now it feels like game four, they gave them one to be nice, is actually what it feels like. They just gave it's similar. Well, hockey's different. Hockey can go sideways on you.
Yeah.
So if that's what Florida did to Edmonton, that was a potential mistake. But like with the Boston Maverick series, it does feel like, how about we just give you one of these? How about we give you one?
I think what also happened, too, is...
Gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, I think what also happened, too, was Friday. We didn't talk too much about it, but Porzingis being dressed in street clothes and then not playing, or, in a Celtics uniform and then not playing... I feel like that almost set the tone for them of like, yeah, guys, just go out there, don't get hurt, and then we'll take care of them on Monday. Because then they did yesterday. It was the exact same. It was the exact same game every single time they won. So I think they just knew they were going to win in Boston.
I saw there was a tweet from Porzingis, and I just loved it because he said, like, he retweeted a picture of him and Jason Tatum like celebrating the championship, and he wrote like. He was like, this is everything. And he's like, I love Boston. And I'm like, I love it. I love it. I'm just yelling, I love it. I love it. I love it. Good for him.
Yeah.
He gave us a nice year here. I'll give him that. He did. He gave us a nice year here. I am, still not exactly sure why we traded him for what we traded him for. I understand what the whole plan is, and they needed to reset, and they couldn't build around him, I guess. They didn't get a lot really back for him. They just got kind of out of the contract. But I'm happy for him because he turned his career around and seems to enjoy basketball again and had game one. He got to play in game five. So I'm happy for him. There's teams like, I don't know. It's, I don't know how you can really, if you're not a Celtics fan, root for the Celtics. It's like hard to like them. But there were a few players on there where I'm like happy for him. Like Al Horford playing for as long as he has to finally win a championship. Porzingis, who went through the mill with too soon, too fast, tough in New York, lots of injuries, second go Dallas, didn't go very well, had to get his career back on track here, then goes to Boston and wins and seems beyond happy doing it. Those were two ones that I really liked. It was easy, likable parts of Boston winning a championship.
No, and I think for me it's Drew Holiday. I think he's turned into one of the more clutch playoff performers too now, and he's
underrated.
He became. I loved this stat. He became the first player ever to win championships in his first year with two separate teams. So he won a championship with the Bucks year one of his contract, and then won with the Celtics in year one of his contract. Holiday to me is like kind of turning into. I guess the comparison, would be like Iguodala, when he went to Golden State, like maybe a little bit of that. But even then, Iguodala was coming off the bench. But I just think he's turned into such a good playoff performer that I've appreciated him over the years in these playoff runs. So, yeah, I look at that, and that's why we were saying, though, Boston was the better team top to bottom because of all the guys you named and Holiday and everybody, because it's like, you can't go pound for pound for that team with Tatum and Brown on the other side, too.
No.
I mean, it was just like, you weren't going to get past them.
No, and I said it from the get-go with Holiday. I'm like, he's underrated. Like, he's an elite defensive player, and in a league where a lot of point guards are score-first point guards, when you have someone like this that can at least limit them, it changes the whole dynamic of it. And look at Kyrie Irving's output for the course of the series. He was pretty good at home, but like the first couple of games in Boston, he was a total no-show, essentially. And then like he marginalized him, and that gave Dallas no chance. So I agree with you on Holiday. And I felt going in, I said this a million times, I'm like, this whole series is Holiday on Kyrie. If he limits him and Kyrie can't score 30 a night or shoot at a high clip or have his way, then they're going to have a hard time winning. I don't care what Luka does. Like, they're going to have a really hard time winning. And the number you kept pointing out that was every night was they have no assists.
Yes.
Like, none. Like, across the board, none.
Right. Yeah.
So they were outclassed. That was a way better team. And when you see like an elite Hall of Fame point guard have 2 assists or the team have 6, for a night, that's an elite defensive performance. Or the other team is just selfish and not giving the ball up. But it's more like it's an elite defensive performance. And they were prohibitive favorites for a reason. And it showed. It ended up, I hate that it happened in the finals because I like when it's an extremely competitive series. But Vegas called this, a week and a half ago before the thing started. They were like, this is a mismatch of epic proportions, and it turned out to be that. It turned out to be every bit as true as they predicted it would be.
I'm going to do it one more time here just because we can. The assist from last night, Kyrie Irving 9, Luka 5.
It's pretty good.
PJ
Right.
Washington 3. That's it. That's the list.
Well, at least at least,
crazy.
okay, so Kyrie is at least flirting with a double-double
Sure,
now.
yeah,
like at least flirting with it.
Right.
And Luka has at least 5. There were a couple games that you cited, like the high was 2.
Yep.
Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, right.
That's terrible. Like, that should never happen. You could happen on a couple of assists on just a breakdown of a defensive play. So Boston was clearly the way better team. I do love we're beginning the circling of, maybe we were too, it's not maybe we were too hard on Boston. It's they're trying to defend themselves saying we weren't that critical of Boston throughout all of this if you really listen to what we said, which isn't really true. Like, I saw one clip and the headline from Stephen A was, I didn't criticize Tatum that much.
Oh, stop.
And in the meantime, the whole playoff run was, they're going to choke again. They don't look like a champion. I don't know. Tatum and Brown don't get along. Like, the whole stupid storylines. And they just kept winning every series easily. And then everyone just kept excusing it away like, well, Mitchell got hurt. Well, Jimmy Butler didn't play. Oh, Halliburton's hurt now. And all they did was go through the playoffs, lose 3 total games, I think gave one away in the finals, and were never significantly challenged by anybody over the course of a series. Like, it was... There was a couple close games in every series, and that really was it. And the finals were a joke, honestly. Like, they totally outclassed them. So, of course, because they won, had the best record, were a favorite coming into the season, and lost 3 total games in the playoffs, now everybody has to try to change their tune and pretend they weren't that critical of them the whole time.
Right. No, I mean, it's complete BS. They were all they did was just do what everyone said that they were supposed to do. They still have to,
That's right.
They still have to face criticism, which is just so stupid. It's ridiculous.
I know, but now everybody has to go, well, we didn't criticize them that much. Like, that's because they can't say they didn't do it. They just have to say we didn't do it as much as you're pretending that we did, which is not true. Like, I was there, and it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and you all just kept saying, yeah, but with them. And meantime, it's like, what do they have to do to earn some respect? And the weirdest part is, it's the Boston Celtics. Like, it's not like some fly-by-night, never wins championships, showed up out of nowhere organization. Like, I know they haven't won a title in a while, but they've won more than anybody in the history of the league. If you're ever going to go benefit of the doubt, it's them wearing those jerseys playing in that city.
Right. I made this comparison filling in for Tony this morning. It must be nice to have a franchise where just everything goes right. Because look at what that franchise has gone through in the last since they won their last championship. They parlayed Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen into a trade to get them assets that are these assets that are winning them a title. Right. They got Brad Stevens, who was only in college as a head coach for 5 years, and then elevated him to the front office, and it worked. Then they went through the whole coaching crap last year, and then hired this guy at age 35. Oh, and it works out perfectly. Like, it must be nice. That's all I could think about, like, reflecting on it this morning was like, if the Wizards went through that every single step of the way, it would have been terrible. And instead, Boston's just like, yeah, we're just going to hit 6-6 every single time and be on a hot streak, and every single one of those decisions is going to work out. Not only great, but perfectly fine, and we're going to win a championship after it's all said and done.
I mean, Brad Stevens is obviously going to win Executive of the Year. Like, that can't even be close.
Yep.
Like, he acquired Drew Holiday. He acquired Kristaps Porzingis. Look at the trades that he made. And remember, the Porzingis one wasn't supposed to initially include Marcus Smart.
Yep.
And it fell apart. Remember, it was with the Clippers. And it fell apart at the last minute. And somehow, remember, Porzingis's option thing was going to expire.
Yes.
And they had to get a deal done in a short period of time. And he was able to pivot away from a deal that fell through last minute to get another one done, to acquire him anyway, to trade away a guy who was a team captain on their team. And he got it done anyway.
Right.
Come on now. This guy is new Pat Riley. And
yeah, I mean, I have
he
no
is.
argument. Yeah, I have no argument.
He is. Go look at what he's built. And he was a coach, short period of time. He decided, you know what? I'm a really good coach, but maybe this isn't for me. And so I'm going to strong arm Danny Ainge out of his position, and took it from him. And look what he did. He's built a team that looks like it should contend for a long time. Look at the depth, breadth, and viability of that group.
Yep.
They have Tatum and Brown under contract long term. Brown, who again, this was never, I don't know why this became a controversial thing through the series when Jason Kidd said Jaylen Brown's their best player. I've been saying that for 3 years. He's their best, most clutch player. It's not a knock on Jason Tatum. This is where we get into dumb conversations. They have 2 superstars on their team. It's not controversial to say that one of them in the playoffs over the last few years, not just this year, but over the last few years, is the more clutch, better player. Now that what's controversial about that? It's not a knock on Tatum. It's that they have 2 legitimate superstars on their team.
Yep.
And Brown in the playoffs has been unbelievable. They've got those guys locked in. They now have Porzingis, who loves it there. All of a sudden loves it. They brought in Holiday, who probably has a good couple. He's in his 30s now, so he probably has a couple more good years out of him. And then their role players fit for them. They just do. And that's probably Brad Stevens. He knows the role players. And I don't know how good a coach Mazzulla is, but they stuck with him after last year when he was the one getting thrown under the bus for, he's too inexperienced. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. Brad Stevens, man. Brad Stevens is the new, he's got the eye for it. We were talking about Jerry West passed away. Jerry West had the eye for it. Pat Riley forever has had the eye for it. Coaching, playing, GM through many different incarnations. This guy, if he wants to be like a lifer, whether it's with Boston or anywhere else, he's got it. He's got it. It's obvious that don't trade with him.
Well,
whatever you do, don't. He's the guy. Don't trade with him.
Well, the other side of this too is, and I also can't help but kind of look at it today, where they win a title, they pass the Lakers for titles, and then the Lakers, allegedly it's going to be JJ Redick, and I'm just looking at it, shaking my head, going, one of those teams got themselves back on that right track. Actually, they never really left. It just took them some time to rebuild it a little bit. But they've
been really good for a few years now. They just haven't won it. That's all.
Correct. No, exactly. It took them a couple years after they won that title once they blew it up, but they got those assets. That was the most important part about blowing it up with those older guys. But I look at it, and then I just kind of look across the bow over at the Lakers, and it's like, you guys are a shell of yourselves. And this franchise, maintained the ship in a really tough league to actually be able to do that. You're letting LeBron call the shots, and like I said, apparently JJ is going to be your head coach. Good luck with all that. Meanwhile, the Celtics are like, we're going to laugh all the way to the bank because we have our guys all locked up, and it's only going to take us plugging in these role players from here on out for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
The Lakers are very far away from a title team right now, and the best thing that can happen to them is when LeBron leaves, one way or the other, whether he retires from them or just moves on, which, is always a possibility with him, because if he doesn't think he can win there, he will leave, and I don't blame him at this point in his career. I actually don't blame him if he wants to try to go somewhere else and try to finish it off, with a team that he thinks he can win with. But we've been talking about this for a while, he has become the Lakers. I subscribe to you're the Lakers. I don't know why you would let anybody take over. I get it. He's an all-time great player. You've had a lot of all-time great players in your organization. I don't remember any of them controlling it the way that he controls it. Even back in the day when Kobe and Shaq were not getting along, the Lakers were making decisions. not Kobe and Shaq. The Lakers were making decisions. Phil Jackson was making decisions. The front office was making decisions. We're the Lakers here. We're going to figure this out. We'd like to keep you guys together, but clearly we can't. Well, we're going to make a decision as the Lakers of how we're going to move forward. Ever since, I don't blame him at the end of Kobe's career. They hung on too long, and then he injured his Achilles. And he was never going to be the same player. And he can summon it up, a couple of nights here and there. And he had a great end to his playing career with, pulling off like a couple of great moments again, just to kind of sail off into the sunset. But I don't kind of blame him for that, because he was an all-time player, had been there his whole career. And so they were just getting through what is lean years when your superstar and the guy making the most money is hurt. And there was no way kind of around it. And I'll give him somewhat of a pass for that one. The LeBron thing, LeBron has totally taken over that organization. It's obvious in the way that they perform, the way that they act, everything that they do, and that's their fault for enabling him that way. And he clearly doesn't know how to build a team and doesn't know how to do this. Go look at the Celtics. They are run by their front office, not by Brown or Tatum. Brown or Tatum may have their particular feelings about things. Brown's been a little wonky the last couple of years until he got the contract, but the organization has determined what they are going to do, and look at what happens when you have an organizational structure like that. The Lakers don't have this. And this is why they're far away from it. And the best thing that can happen to them is whenever he leaves, that will be the best thing for them, because once he does, they can start over and they can always attract top talent, because top talent wants to play for the Los Angeles Lakers. So once there's that hole and that opening for the next star of the Lakers, there will be a line out the door to get it. Not everybody, but because not everybody wants to do it, but most do.
Right.
Most do.
Yep. Right.
Most kids grow up and want to be a Laker.
Yes.
If you want to be a basketball player, you want to be a Laker.
Yeah.
Right. So they will have a line out the door to do it, but they need LeBron to go, because they're not winning one right now in the way that they're going. And here they are. And no offense to JJ Redick, I don't know whether he'll be a good coach or not, but he's not the first choice that they went after. Not that should really, be an indictment of them. They took a swing at somebody, and it was a risk for them to go after somebody who's very happy where he is and is winning a lot, and ask him to do so without overwhelming him. But until, I feel bad for JJ Redick, because I see the writing on the wall here. This team can't win with experienced coaches right now, and they're going to bring in a first-time head coach to try to figure it out on the fly. And we all know what's going to happen if they don't start winning and winning big. LeBron's going to blame him. Yeah. He's going to be he's never going to blame himself. He's always going to blame the other person. So they, to me, are not in the Celtics league right now. They're not in collision course for a while. The Celtics are in a window where they're going to be good, to really good, to great, to contender, and the Lakers are circling around in no man's land. And then once LeBron leaves, it'll depend on what they get and who's on their team to determine how close they are to actually contending again.
No, and it's funny too, even if they go with JJ, apparently that is going to be LeBron's pick. Windhorst even was kind of hinting at today of what star is going to go to Dallas? There's somebody out there that's going to go, you know what, I can make it work with those two guys and put them over the top. Yeah. And, of course, everyone's going, well, if Windhorst is saying that, we know he's not as plugged in with LeBron, but it doesn't mean he doesn't know anything with that. I don't know. Would it shock you that in a couple weeks we hear LeBron wants to go to Dallas? It wouldn't shock me, to be completely honest. So, that's the other part about all of this is the worst part about if you're the Lakers is if JJ, whether he's a legit candidate or not, and you do hire him, LeBron could still bolt on you as well. Yeah. And you just look like a dummy at the altar because you're trying to do this. So, yeah.
I got to tell you, though, LeBron, Kyrie, Luka, I don't know how that would work. I don't know. He blots out the sun, and Luka's as good a player, if not better than him right now. So I just don't know how that works. I know he and Kyrie are very close, but I think you got heads getting butted you can't even believe if those two were together. But I would understand if Dallas wanted to take a shot at something like that. I totally would get it if they wanted to take a shot at something like that.
I would say LeBron would just have to kind of do what he did in Miami, where, remember, it was this is still D-Wade's team. Remember, he was he's still the captain. He's still the leader. And I guess you can do that if you're LeBron. He's 40 now. So, it's kind of easier for him to go, hey, I'm not the same player I was. And I've told you this before. I commend LeBron with how he plays now. Like, he only plays like 24, 28 minutes a night, but he plays really hard in those minutes. So, I mean, I think that would help Dallas, get over the hump and at least be way more competitive against a team like the Celtics if they were getting those minutes from him. Kyrie, I think, actually would like it. I think Kyrie he's kind of like KD to me, where he likes being on the back burner, as good as he is.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I think it could work, but I'm with you. Like, LeBron does bring on a whole different animal when it comes to the media, his fan base. Like, it's just like one of our modern instances of there's not Lakers fans, there's LeBron fans too that follow him wherever he's going to go. So I don't know. I just circled that one though. I circled that one early, by the way, in the playoffs. That it wouldn't shock me if LeBron wanted to join up with those guys. But that seems like a Cuban move. That would be like a last hurrah for Cuban. We're going to bring in LeBron, and if we can't do it now, then so be it.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm selling in 2 years too. Hang out here with me. We'll figure this thing out. I'll go out.
Right. Yeah. You want to?
We'll invest together. We're both billionaires.
Correct.
Let's go invest together.
Yeah. You want LeBron tank? Is that going to be the next show? Or
maybe he works with him and he says, you know what? I'll sell the Mavericks and go work with you on the new Las Vegas team that shows up.
That's actually a good call right there too. Yeah. And I'm sure even Silver would be like, yeah, that'll work. Like, I don't mind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
One other thing from the finals, I got to give Doris Burke. Oh, she had the line of the night. Oh, Doris Burke. I don't remember what the foul was, but it was a really hard foul in the the Celtics Mavericks game last night. And she just said, she goes, well, if that was Caitlin Clark, we'd be talking about this for a week. And I was like, oh, Doris Burke with a fastball that went over the center field wall. Yep. She got all of it. I was like, Doris Burke, line of the night. You win.
It was awesome.
You win. And I loved it coming from her because she's just like, you all need to shut up about hard fouls. We don't make it like, and I was like, you win tonight. You win, Doris.
Yeah,
good one. All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram wants to show ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. I read this today that the Associated Press, which has the criteria for the NFL Comeback Player of the Year, has decided that winner needs to be emphasized by a player who overcame an injury or an illness, not just a player who followed a bad year with a good year. That they are now not in the mood for dealing with the controversies of whether DeMar Hamlin is the comeback player of the year or Joe Flacco, who won it. Because Hamlin came back from the dead, all right, and made the team. No, he died came back, made the team, didn't play very much, but made the team and seemed to be a shoo-in for comeback player of the year. And then there's Joe Flacco, whose career looked like it was over, was hired off of the couch because the Browns had a million quarterback injuries and took him to the playoffs. And I landed on, I thought it was funny when people kept doing how can you vote against somebody who came back from the dead? Isn't that the definition of a comeback player of the year? But I landed on, yeah, I get it. But Flacco's story is pretty darn good and it defines comeback. His career was over.
Right.
And so, but I guess now they're not having that anymore. So I can already tell you who's going to win Comeback of the Player of the Year today then. I already know who it is.
And that is?
Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. It's over.
Yeah.
Let's not even bother. Unless he decides to leave to become the Secretary of Education or whatever he's going to do, other than this, well, then they're basically telling us out loud that that's who's going to win the award before the season ever starts. Because who else would it be?
Yeah, I mean, no one comes to mind unless we're not thinking of a skill position player that got hurt.
So Joe Burrow missed a lot of time last year. Is that comeback player of the year because he missed time so that's what comeback player of the year is? Like I don't understand comeback player of the year because Joe Burrow didn't get bad. He just got hurt.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, he was.
So if he comes back and he's a Pro Bowler again and they get to the AFC Championship or whatever, Is that make him the comeback player of the year just because he overcame an injury and, oh, by the way, one that shouldn't be career-threatening?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, by their definition, yes. That's what they're saying to you, yeah.
I don't know why they had to do that. Why do you have to come out and say that?
I mean, because they didn't want to go through what they wanted to go through last year, I guess. I mean, that's simply put in that direction. They don't want another situation like they did last year.
Well, they had it the year before too, and I thought this I thought also defined comeback player of the year. They gave it to Geno Smith the year before,
right,
which was the first year he was remember they made the playoffs. It was the first year that he was a full-time starter in years.
Yeah.
He'd been a backup, after being in the Jets and the Giants, he was a backup forever, and he finally, when Russ was gone, got an opportunity, and he was amazing. He had a great season. That, to me, defines comeback player of the year, and they're saying that, to them, doesn't define comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
That's the epitome of it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, maybe we need to just redo the award overall. Like, maybe we don't really have comeback because guess what? Guys get hurt every single year. So all we're really doing is handing out an award for something that's inevitable, right? Whoever the biggest guy getting hurt is, all of a sudden gets an award handed to him. Maybe this should be like, I don't know, like breakout player of the year, something like that, where maybe it's like where a player that we hadn't heard of busts onto the scene and runs for 1,500 yards or catches 1,200 yards worth of passing, or some quarterback like Brock Purdy, been a great one where it's
Brock Purdy,
like
Tank Dell.
Yes.
Yeah, Tank Dell.
I think
that's a crazy season in his second or third year. Yeah, sure.
Like this is very much like I don't know. Like maybe the NFL needs to rethink this of guys get hurt every year. It's football. They get compensated for it. I'm not trying to say like this is like something that's inappropriate or something, but guys get hurt. It's the league. It's how it is. Everybody gets hurt. Look at a guy like Rodgers where he takes a wrong step back and pops his Achilles, right? Like,
yes.
Like, I don't know. It's a part of the game. So why are we handing out an award for guys doing what everyone else in the sport does, and that's recover from injuries every year? I don't know.
I love Florio because he lists some players and he goes, okay, well then in that case, here are the players that are going to win it, basically. And he goes, Kirk Cousins, remember?
Yep.
Blew his ACL out.
Yep, exactly.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. And he's with a new team, so I'll hear that a little bit. He lists Burrow, and I'm like, but Burrow never went anywhere. Burrow was really good, hurt his wrist. If he comes back and he's really good, how is that coming back from anything other than he had an injury?
Right.
Why would you give it an award for that? They go, well, how about Anthony Richardson, who by week 4 or 5 injured his knee, was out for the year. But he was never good in the first place. Come back from what? What are you talking about? So, and then, the other one they listed, which I was like, okay, I'll hear this one out. Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb had a devastating-looking, terrible injury.
Sure.
If he comes back and looks like Nick Chubb again, I'll hear that out because he looked like he had a career-threatening injury. That's different to me. Joe Burrow injuring his wrist and not that forces him to not play, to then come back 9 months later with his wrist fine and plays like Joe Burrow normally does. That's not comeback player of the year to me. Nick Chubb, whose knee went sideways, looked like his career might be over because of it, had to repair multiple ligaments in it, and is a running back. If he's Nick Chubb again, I will hear that one out as that is comeback player of the year.
Sure.
But then there's they put another example that's in the Geno Smith, Joe Flacco realm. What if Russell Wilson has a great year in Pittsburgh? Is that not comeback player of the year?
Right.
What if he is MVP caliber playing in Pittsburgh after the last few years that he's had? Is that not comeback player of the year?
No, it absolutely should be. I mean, I think he should.
What
be.
if Justin Fields comes in and is amazing in Pittsburgh?
Right. No, I would.
What if Zach Wilson goes to the Pro Bowl in Denver?
Hold on. You haven't even named the one that I want to name. What if Danny Dimes
Yeah.
Comes back from injury and looks really
Well,
good
okay.
and gets him to the playoffs again. Like,
At least he fits the category because he would have been injured. At least, so like they're saying an injury has to play a role here.
Okay.
Russell Wilson hasn't been injured. Therefore, that almost disqualifies him. But what is the definition of comeback if you're not going to qualify somebody who is coming back and turning their career around?
This is really
what are you talking about?
This is really funny. This was posted 8 days ago, so I guess technically the different criteria. This is DraftKings odds on comeback player of the year next year. And we actually have talked about a lot of them, but I'm going to get to a name that I'm just going to like yell about. Aaron Rodgers plus 125, fine. Burrow plus 210, okay. Cousins plus 500, Richardson plus 600, Russell Wilson plus 1,200, Nick Chubb plus 1,500. You can stop me if you want at some point here. Deshaun Watson plus 2,000, Daniel Jones plus 2,200. And then here's the next two names. Justin Herbert plus 2,500, which, what? Okay, I guess.
Okay.
And then the last one is the one that you're kind of talking about. Sam Darnold at plus 3,000 with the Vikings.
Yeah.
But it's like, he didn't get hurt. He was just a backup last year.
He's just a backup. But, like, just for the sake of argument, let's say he goes there. Kevin O'Connell and him click.
Yeah.
They end up in the playoffs. He throws for 4,500 yards. How's that not comeback player of the year?
I know. Yeah, no, I know. I get it.
I mean, I don't expect that to happen, but his receivers are Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison.
Right.
Like it's possible.
Yeah.
Like he was a top 5 pick. It's possible that'll happen. How's that not comeback player of the year?
No, exactly. So I think they just need to redo the award. I think we need to not call it comeback player of the year because I just think it's inevitable. Like,
I don't understand how you could put criteria on it. Then call it like comeback from injury player of the year. How about that then? Qualify it then if that's what it's going to be. Because otherwise, just hand it to Aaron Rodgers right now. Because when the Jets are in the playoffs and he's playing in that playoff game and they laughably lose because it's going to be funny when it actually happens, he'll have gotten them to the playoffs and Aaron Rodgers would have had the comeback player of the year then. So just give it to him. What's the point of even doing this?
Here's my solution to this. We have the Alex Smith comeback player of the year, the player that literally comes back from an injury, and then we have the breakout player of the year, a player that previously did not contribute as much to his team and then had an explosive year on the scene. Because I don't think you can blur the line here. I think you have to have two different ones. And like, I guess what I'm saying here is I'm not anti comeback player of the year of somebody that's injured, but I feel like there has to be two separate awards now because injuries happen in this sport. Like, look at the list of names I just read you. There's huge names on there that did legitimately get hurt, but at the same time have performed at a really high level. So I feel like that shouldn't take away from guys that actually legitimately break out either. I think they just need to have two awards now. I think that's the only way we get past this at this point.
Speaking of Rodgers, I read Albert Breer's piece where he did some digging on what happened at the mandatory minicamp when Aaron Rodgers didn't show up.
Right.
I got to give Albert Breer this. He at least asks the questions and then gets some answers. You don't have to like the answers, but he has really adequately replaced Peter King this way because he actually goes and finds out the answers to this instead of all of us just guessing. He will go you don't have to like what they say about it, but he asks the questions and he gets the answers.
Right.
And this is what he wrote about it. When I spoke to Robert Saleh, he asked him to stand on what he said about the Rodgers situation, that the quarterback had a personal event important to him scheduled ahead of time, had communicated his need to go to the team, and that the team marking his absence down as unexcused would be subject to over $100,000 in fines. And he said, I did more digging, and what I could ascertain was how the Jets and Rodgers reached an understanding of the one team, one set of rules logic to not excuse him, and that Rodgers was good with it. And then he said this, while yes, the Jet, and this is amazing that he even wrote this, the Jets could have moved up the minicamp up a week to accommodate him. The staff didn't want to do that because generally having a mandatory minicamp a week before the end of the offseason program essentially greenlights everyone taking the last week of voluntary work off. Yeah. So fortunately, they didn't do this to accommodate Rodgers, which would have pissed off the whole team, right? Would have pissed off the whole team.
Right.
Which might mean more guys who need the work a lot more than Rodgers does, cutting the week off of their offseason programs, which would be worse than the guy missing that week anyway. He goes on to say this. keeping the schedule the way that they did gave them a full offseason program with a locked-in Rodgers back from Achilles surgery, save for 1 week. And so here's what Saleh said about that, because Breer will take the team positioning. I appreciate he does the digging, but to say a locked-in Rodgers after admitting he didn't show up to the mandatory minicamp seems to be at odds with one another to even say that. But he's like parroting out, Rodgers has been locked in the whole time, except when he had to be there, which he decided not to show up to, which would then logically tell me he's not all in and locked in, but whatever, say what you want to say about it. This is what Saleh said, who said, Saleh, by the way, wouldn't rehash the events of the last week, but said this about him. Aaron has been just like he was a year ago. He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal teammate. He's a phenomenal resource. His leadership, his thoughtfulness, the way he's taken those young quarterbacks under his wing, and the way he's helped even Tyrod Taylor along, he's phenomenal in that regard. Him being here and attacking the offseason and doing everything that we've asked has been fantastic.
Oh, God.
And yet, at the same time, he's like, but I don't want to talk about what happened last week.
Wait. You say last week. You don't even want to talk about Zach Wilson? How is he? What do you mean? What do you mean take him under his wing?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's a broken quarterback in Denver right now that would have really
That's
liked
right.
a little bit more of that guidance you're talking about there.
Yes.
What are you talking about, dude?
He said there was and Breer describes this as the Jets are saying a lesson was learned last year to cut down on more volume to get more from a Rodgers-less team. Was another. Rodgers, for example, doesn't like a lot of motion and movement in his offense because, same as Peyton Manning used to prefer it, he wants to be able to get a clean look at the defense, then move his teammates around accordingly. The thing was with Rodgers out, not having the pre-snap bells and whistles wound up hurting a group that was struggling to begin with and making the offense a little too static. And just having so much in the offense helped leverage the strength of Rodgers' mind and experience. Taking more out would help more younger players get off of the plate. So Saleh says this about the lesson learned last year. It was to try to just hone in on certain concepts and come to the conclusion that it was okay to be repetitive and pick some schemes, pick a philosophy, stick with that philosophy for the last 6 weeks. And it was really to create consistency week to week with what we're trying to get accomplished to see if we could just get better. There's so much turnover. There were so many players in and out of the lineup. So this team talks out of both sides of their mouth so much.
Yep.
Like, I don't want to talk about what happened last week, but I do want to say how great Aaron Rodgers is. And I want to say it as many times as I can possibly say it. But I don't want to talk about why we had to fine him $100,000 because that wouldn't fall in line. And then he basically says, we couldn't run the offense that would have been, potentially usable without Rodgers on the field because Aaron doesn't want us to run that offense. But that's why this is better this time around, because we're running some of these things and Aaron's okay with it.
I think you should have read. I think you should have read Saleh's quotes on Rodgers in Trump's voice. I think it would have sounded really, really good. Because it's very much like, oh, he's great. We don't want to talk about it, but he's great. He's fantastic.
He's great.
He's taking the young quarterbacks under his wing. It's very it's very just shuffling all the problems under the rug, essentially.
It's just this goes back to what we were just talking about with LeBron. Like, they've enabled this.
Yep.
They've totally enabled this.
Yeah,
I
appreciate
that they actually, said this was unexcused and fined him because they had to say that and they have to fine him. And they didn't let him, quote unquote, get away with it. But even they admitted we knew he was doing this and we were on the same page with him. And I'm going to say a million glowing things about him because if I hurt his feelings, I'm in trouble. So this is enabled. And this is why, even if they make the playoffs, they will lose. It will be funny. They will not win a championship. There's no chance that they're going to have some kind of glorious 15-2 run and cruise to the playoffs. It's just, come on. It's not good. The enabled teams don't do that. They're not going to do it.
Right.
When adversity strikes, like who's in control, who's going to answer the questions, and it's not Saleh. Not if he's going to say things like this. And I don't know if I blame the ownership for that, because they've enabled him. Maybe it's their fault, and that's just the way it is. Or Saleh feels job security issues because if he doesn't get it done with Rodgers this year, he knows he's probably fired. If they don't make the playoffs, he definitely will be fired, like undoubtedly will be fired. So maybe he's scared about his job security. But just think about all these things that they're saying, how phenomenal he is, even though he decided to not show up to the mandatory minicamp.
Right.
Like, come on. Like, this... It's not going to go well. Like, it's the NFL. Like, I don't care how good they are. They will lose games. Of course they will. Like, a really good season in the NFL is 10-7. Like, they're going to lose games. It's only going to take one or two that goes the wrong way of games they should have won, where we're going to find out if this has any hope of actually surviving this year.
The actual funniest part about this entire story is nobody knows where he's at. How do we not know that
Nobody knows
yet?
where he's at.
How do we not know that?
Yeah. Nobody knows yet.
Like, the guy
Nobody
won't
knows where
shut
he's
up
at.
about his home remedies and crap like that, or who he supports. How do we not know where he's at? Because he hasn't been there the whole time.
And now, like that we're into the offseason, nobody's going to know, because unless he shows up and does a podcast about it, you're not going to know where he's been. And now he doesn't have to be there.
Well, now, I mean, he's going to get asked about it, too. I mean, they're going to ask
He
him
will,
where
and we'll
he's
see what he
at.
says.
Yeah, right. I mean,
And he'll
gotta
spin it
figure
that the media's after him or some kind of weird,
Duh. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to say some ridiculous thing. He'll be like, I'm done with the distractions around here, when he's the distraction.
Right.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, let me take a quick break. Bram watches the show. ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. I did see this tweet from Warren Sharp today, who asked a good poll question. Next 5 years, who do you want, since they basically got the same contract, Trevor Lawrence or Justin Herbert? Trevor Lawrence beat Justin Herbert in the playoffs. Justin Herbert hasn't won a playoff game yet.
Mm-hmm.
Largely, I would think Justin Herbert's been more consistent than Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has a different skill set that doesn't seem to have been put on consistently on display, but Warren Sharp got 21,000 responses to this in a just pick your side here, Herbert or Lawrence. Did you see this tweet?
I did not see this one.
Okay, take a guess. What do you think the results were?
I got to think Herbert, but, I mean, if the way you're talking is it's going to be Trevor, is what you're saying.
It's Herbert.
Okay.
84%
Good. Yeah,
of
I think
people
so.
who voted on this, and this is 21,000 people voted on it at last check. 84% of them picked Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at that. Are you surprised at that? The way your tone is, it sounds like you are.
So I feel like Herbert has got the goods, and for some reason has been held back by either coaching or circumstances. That's what I feel like, but he hasn't won anything yet. So there's a part of me that goes, I'll hear out a 50-50 split on this, because at least Lawrence has won a playoff game and against him, and is clearly a better athlete. Doesn't have the arm. I don't think anybody has Herbert's arm right now. But, like, he's got a good arm, and he's got the legs. We just haven't seen him put it together regularly yet. So that's why I guess I was surprised how tilted it was, 84%.
I'm not, but also I'm not surprised either, because I feel like the Chargers have had more primetime opportunities compared to the Jags, and I don't think as many people have watched Trevor. And I'm not trying to make an argument for Lawrence here. I think it's Herbert. But I think we've all seen kind of more moments out of Herbert, too. Like, I always point back to that Chiefs game maybe 2 seasons ago. Remember, he was banged up, his ribs were hurt, and he was still, like, sprinting down the field trying to win that game for them. Like, I don't know. I think Herbert's had better moments than Lawrence has overall, despite Lawrence winning a playoff game. I also think, this is a good old-fashioned eye test. We watch games with Herbert, and the dude throws for 350 yards routinely, and Lawrence doesn't. Like, I think that boils down to it as well, is that the stats are always better for Herbert as well, as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I'm not surprised people are picking him over Lawrence. And Lawrence also had a mulligan first year, too. So, we still, don't really know what his ceiling is.
I don't blame him for that. And then, while I don't think it's the same, it's turning out that this Staley guy was not a very good head coach either.
Yeah.
And so there is a part of me that feels like, do I mulligan Herbert for that? It's not the same as Urban. That was a you-know-what show.
Correct.
Like, that's not what was going on in L.A., but clearly Staley was way in over his head.
Right.
And that became obvious as things went along. And then the more you kind of heard about it, you were like, oh, like, this isn't working out. But it wasn't like Urban, it wasn't thumbs. It wasn't that situation going on.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. 2 other things before we go to break. Have you seen the Landon Donovan thing yet?
Yes. Yeah, I did see that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was not great.
I feel terrible for him. I don't know why. The story, if you haven't seen this yet, just Google it. Like, if you just Google his name, pictures will pop up from him from the coverage of the Euros. And it looks like someone took a razor to his head and played a prank on him. And it looks awful, right?
Yep.
And as it turned out, he got a hair transplant.
Yes.
And somehow, for some reason, his people told him you wouldn't be able to tell on TV. In the meantime, like
You could tell.
You could tell, and there's part of me that goes, did he look in a mirror?
Right.
And when they were saying they're not going to be able to tell on TV, did he then say to them, oh, I think they will, like, actually be able to tell? Because I look crazy right now. I look like a 5-year-old got a pair of clippers and just started playing with my head.
Well, and you know how TV works too, though. They put him at the end of the desk, so he has to constantly turn his head. Like, you and I know how this works. You could put him at the center of the desk, and then he's not tilting his head full 90 degrees the other way. And I think that was actually, to me, like the biggest slap in the face of, you're going to tell him you can't see it, but then put him in the place where he has to tilt his head all the way over. Yeah, not a good look. But I haven't seen enough of this. Landon, you've known that the World Cup is coming for a while now. Why did you decide to get that this close to the World Cup? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I think there's also some blame for him as well here of like, why'd you get it so close to the World Cup, man? And you knew this was coming for a long time. So I don't know. I kind of blame him on this a little bit too. You didn't have to do it, or you could have waited till afterwards as well. So yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
Last thing, the United States Olympic Committee put out the pictures of what the delegation is going to wear when they march into France next month for the Olympics.
They did, yes.
It should be noted that the designer for the United States Olympic team is Polo by Ralph Lauren.
Yep.
So,
Has been for a while.
that is a very specific look. And, you could pretty much guess which direction that's going to go. You're not going to see a lot of modern creativity. But the part that got me, we're going to France, one of the most fashionable places in the world.
Yep.
And every one of our athletes is going to be in blue jeans. And I was like, I can't believe it. As someone who wears jeans every day, I still think that on that moment when they're either riding down the river, the Seine River, or marching into the stadium, whatever they end up doing, or both, that I just can't see blue jeans as the way we ought to go. Like, I just feel like in that moment we could have gone a step up.
Oh, you should have. What'd you think? It should have been Lululemon. Should have been Lululemon.
I don't know. It feels a little ugly American. It really does. Like, it just doesn't. Especially in France. Like, it'd be one thing if, like, we showed up when they had it in Russia, or we did it in, like, South Korea. Like, let's pull America here. But in France, I think you need to look really good, and I just feel like someone dropped the ball on the whole thing, and we're not looking our best here, guys. We're not. And maybe we should have gone with a more modern fashion like group as opposed to Polo by Ralph Lauren that's going to look at it from their point of view, which is not modern and hasn't been. Nothing wrong with their look. It's just, it's classic, but it's classic and it's not modern.
I cannot help but look at the picture because there's two different outfits. There's the one with the denim and the jacket, and then there's the other one. It's kind of like a matching jumpsuit type look too. I don't know what the difference is. I guess one's going to be for opening, and then one maybe is just like for in between events or something. I can't help, and you can agree or disagree with me here, that it looks like it's another country that came up with our outfits because of our stereotypes. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, it looks like if, I don't know, Japan saw what Americans wear and we're like, okay, we're going to make you an outfit of what we think Americans should look like. That's the outfit. Like light blue jeans and a USA jacket. I don't know. It looks like something out of an anime cartoon of them trying to portray Americans. That's what it looks like to me.
It is. it is a stereotype.
The
whole look is some kind of stereotype from another era. Really,
you know what it is? It's like if you typed into AI, make the most American-looking outfit that we can, and that's what was spit out. That's actually what it looks like.
Who knew? Who knew that Polo by Ralph Lauren was run by ChatGPT?
That's right.
Like, who knew it?
Yeah, exactly.
But they are.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Bram wants to show ESPN 630 Sports Capital. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. All right. Let's see. What's going on? Yeah, I'm all right. What's going on? Training camp was announced today. Just 5 open practices to the public, 2 others that will be open to season ticket holders, and I don't know the specifics on that, but not open to the general public, but to basically membership people. So that'll be
Yes.
interesting.
Yes.
But just 5. So get your tickets now, people. If you want to come out there, it is limited access only this time around to get out and go check them out while they practice. See Jaden Daniels and crew. First go around, new crew. I don't think it was to keep people out. I think that their schedule, because they are going early to both New York and Miami to do joint practices a couple of days in advance of each of those preseason games. I think that's what happened here. I think that's why it is what it is. But if you want to see them, you're not going to have many chances this time around. So I would get on that now because it's in a month and you only got 5 opportunities if you're not a season ticket holder.
Here is your schedule. 5 open practices, July 28th, 29th, August 2nd, 4th, and 6th. And then it says, 2 open practices exclusively for select memberships, which I think is actually probably one of mine. But anyways, there are 2 exclusive ones for season ticket holders. So there you go.
Yes. So there it is. So just 5. That feels like I'd have to remember. I mean, I don't remember it being that few ever. I don't remember it ever being that few. But I think it's the schedule that really has a lot to do with it. So when's it start? The 24th.
So it's
the 18th, 24th.
No. The team reports. It's hold on. I have the dates here on one of my update pages. The actual reporting date for players is, I don't know why I can't find it now, is the 20th. It's 18th. It's 18th for the rookies, 23rd for the veterans, and then that first open practice
24th.
is the 24th.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Too many dates today.
23rd it opens, not to the public, right? 24th for full team, just 5 practices. So that's actually, you know what, that is a small amount because preseason game 1 is like the 10th or the 11th of August, something like that. So that's 3 full weeks. And they're only going to have 7 open practices. 2 of them you have to be a season ticket holder to get into.
Yeah.
And then they'll go, and then the week leading into the Jets game will be short because they're flying to New York early, and then the following week will be short because they're going to fly in early to Miami to practice with the Dolphins, and then they've always closed camp by then anyway. Once they get through the second preseason game, that's it typically for training camp anyway.
Yeah.
But that's a small amount, so they're closing ranks this year a little bit. They are. They're closing ranks. They want to keep it under the lid. So it's an interesting, they probably won't say that publicly, but now that I think about it, 3 weeks, one of them is only 7 of the 2.5 weeks before they go to New York. So that's half of them.
Right.
Half of them.
Right.
So they're not opening it. They're basically closing it down more so than they usually do. But, listen, that's their prerogative. And this team has been very tight and this has been a tight ship. They don't give up a lot of information. It's been hard to get a lot of information out of them. They've kind of kept a lot of things during the spring really under wraps too. They showed us what they wanted to show us. That was it. We have to go by what we hear, not what we see in general. And it feels like they're taking that into the preseason as well here.
I think when it comes to these dates, though, we had talked about this. I don't know if it was last year, but maybe the year before, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Bram, but there was a day or two where, remember, they were expecting a lot more people, and then, people just didn't use those free tickets. I want to say it was one of the first practices. I want to say it was 2 years ago. I don't want to say it was last year. And I think what this is also really just doing, though, is it's okay, we're not going to open up this whole thing anymore. If you want to come out to one of these 5 days. And I kind of agree with them on this. The logistics involved of having a bunch of the public come to your practices isn't nothing. They don't just have, all the resources to do that. So I'm kind of okay with this. I think the energy at those practices becomes a little bit different, too. If you only are going to have really 7 dates because 2 of them are season ticket holders, but 7 practices, I don't know, maybe those become a little bit more special than having fans, there every single day, and you don't really know what you're going to get day to day. I think it was 2 seasons ago, though, where they severely overestimated who was coming because people just didn't use the tickets because they were free. And so I think if you compact it down to these dates, I don't know. I'm thinking about it from a team perspective. I know there are fans that are mad because there's probably only 5 days that they can attend, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I look at it as, you know what? The team is cleaning this up. And then you know what? If a ton of fans show up in those 5 days, guess what's going to happen next year? They're going to open up a couple more dates. But I don't know. I from someone that has worked in the industry and worked in other industries, I don't know. I'm just looking at this from a simple math perspective, and they're going, this is the demand, and if you come these 5 days, maybe we'll open up things more next year.
Do you have it in front of you? What are the 5 days that the general public can
Yes.
go to if you get a ticket?
Yeah.
What
So
are the
it's-
dates
So
of
it's
those?
July
The
24th.
24th?
No. It's July 28th and 29th.
Okay.
August 2nd, August 4th, and August 6th. Those are
Okay.
the
All right.
5 general open, and then the July 30th and August 1st are the 2-season ticket holder membership practices for those 2 days.
Okay. All right, because I was going to say if they were all early, there's a rule about pads that you can't wear them like the first, through the end. So if they open it up early enough, you won't even see them in pads by rule around the league in the NFL. That's one of the negotiated things. I remember talking to Rivera about it. It's like bane of every coach's existence. They finally get to training camp and they still can't put pads on for like 4 or 5 practices because that was negotiated in the CBA. It's like the players want the dumbest things. We want to practice less at training camp.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you going to prepare to play football when you don't practice football?
Right.
I think ridiculous. Anyway, whatever. Like, no wonder there's so many injuries. Like, you guys don't want to put on, like, you need to get your bodies ready to do this. Like, I get it in the off season. You don't want to hit each other. I totally get that. But once training camp rolls around, are you kidding? Like, you're going to be playing in 2 weeks. Like, you got to get into it. Anyway, whatever. So, all right. So they're not all early. So you'll see some padded practices. Those first couple may or may not actually be in pads because by rule, they may not be in pads, so we'll have to see when we get there.
Yeah, right.
Okay, there's that. Austin Eckler went on with Kay Adams on Monday, and she asked him what happened with him and the Chargers. Why is he not there?
Yeah.
And he said this. They wanted a guy that can hand the ball off to 300 times a year. And look, I haven't had the capacity to do that. That's not my game. Then he spoke about himself in third person. That's not how Austin Eckler is going to be best on the field. So there was a misalignment there, which is no harm, no foul. I'll go somewhere else where Austin can be the best version of myself out there. It's interesting he goes from third person to first person in the same sentence. I haven't heard that one before, but he did there.
Yeah, I mean,
he's going to go somewhere where Austin could be the best version of myself out there. Interesting sentence. But that's why he said he doesn't want to be there. And honestly, I don't know why they would think they would give him the ball 300 times.
Right. No, I mean that's not not what a older running back can do anymore. You just can't.
No,
you can't do that.
Well, he never did that in the past anyway. He actually he would never have bulk carries like that. He'd have 100 to 150 carries. He'd have a lot of catches. He's a great receiving running back. So the real damage in general from him can be out of the backfield as a receiver.
Right.
And, at times he can catch your running. I mean, he's a very good multi-purpose running back, but he's never going to be Derrick Henry getting the ball 250, 300 times a year. That's never happening.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not happening. Now, what's interesting about that is, and Pro Football Talk points this out, because they're like, okay, well, the Chargers, want that, but they signed J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, neither of which are workhorses, and Dobbins is recovering from a torn Achilles tendon, and it's the second time he missed an entire season.
Right.
So you're not giving him the ball 300 times. That's not happening. And Gus Edwards is a really good rotational back, but he's not getting 300 carries either. So I don't know what their plan is, and Eckler probably doesn't either.
Right. No, exactly. He just knows I'm out. I don't need to be on this.
Yeah,
team
he's
for
like,
that.
well, once they told him that, he's
Yeah.
like, you know what? Maybe I'll try somewhere else.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm out, guys.
Let's see. The former Ravens will not get to wear the new purple helmet, Han. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have.
Come on, merch man. What do you think?
Not good.
Alternate
Terrible.
purple helmet
It's terrible.
from the Ravens, Han.
It's terrible. It's not a good
Terrible?
look. It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
What do you mean?
It's just not a good looking helmet. I don't like it. It's I don't know. They use the
Well,
old Ravens logo, but
the
it's on
old
like
Raven
But it's
logo.
on like a new helmet. I think you had to go one way or the other. I think you either had to go new logo on that new helmet or go the old logo on like a flat black helmet or something like that. I don't like the old logo on the new purple helmet with a gold face mask. I'm just not a fan. Not a fan.
I agree. I think that's the mistake.
It's too much going on.
They should have just did their normal helmet in purple, right?
Or you could have used the other. So, like, they have. I love their other logo, the B logo. Like, do you know which one I'm talking about? It's like B in the shield. I think they should have gone with that instead of the bird. The bird looks like, it doesn't look like a raven. Like, people are making fun of it, said it looks like an emu, which I kind of agree with. Like, it looks like an ostrich or something. Like, there's an Always Sunny joke in there with D. It kind of looks like D on the side of the helmet. Like, I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't like the logo, I guess is what I'm getting at here. I think the effort is there with the purple helmet. I'm just not a fan. I think there's too much going on there. I also think they could have gone on Maryland, more of a Maryland theme, and they didn't go that route. So
why don't they just put a picture of Stavros in the middle of that helmet?
That would have been amazing.
I would have bought it.
Yeah,
I would have been like, you know what? I got to buy this.
Right. So, yeah,
like,
I don't know.
What's the name of his character? Ronnie?
Yeah.
Is that what he calls himself?
Yeah, Ronnie. Yeah.
Ronnie from whatever area of Baltimore, which they've leaned into.
Correct.
So anybody who complains about me doing Baltimore accents about Baltimore fans, I don't want to hear it. They're making fun of themselves now by embracing Ronnie and having him on the field and doing schedule release videos on their behalf.
He's Ravens Ronnie.
Ravens Ronnie.
Yeah.
It's a great bit. I'll tell you what, man, he near missed it. If he got to the Super Bowl with that bit and did Radio Row and did everybody on Radio Row as Ronnie, his career, which is already taken off, would have gone bonkers off of that. If anybody who should be pissed about the Ravens blowing it in the AFC Championship, it's Stavros. Because Stavros would be filling major halls doing that bit and would have been doing pieces on Jimmy Fallon and all of those shows if they had made it to the Super Bowl.
I mean, I will say this, though. Part of this is the journey. And so people, now that they have learned about, Ronnie, they are following now, though. So, like, I don't know. I think a year of, hey, going to the AFC Championship game and everyone following along, I don't know. I think it's setting himself up even better in the next year or two if they do get it to the Super Bowl. I don't know. I'm just saying people are going to enjoy the journey a little bit more.
The question is he going to tone it down?
No.
Because the funniest part about the Ravens embracing it and like wanting to be a part of it is if you watch some of those videos, that is not for all ears. That one.
Correct.
Those are not for all ears.
He's a different version of Ronnie. He's PG Ronnie on the Ravens social media, and then on his own social media, it's the R-rated version where he says certain things and implies certain things. Yes.
Yeah. Or he's in a bathtub and he's like talking from the bathtub and saying the dirtiest crap you can say about a football game that you could possibly say.
Right. And that he loves Joe Flacco
I
for
love
reasons.
him. Yes. Yeah. Wrong reasons.
Yes.
All the wrong reasons.
Right.
Yes. All right. So we hate it. I agree. I don't like it either.
It's too much going on.
It's a bad move.
And you know me,
yeah,
I'm usually very all in with like any kind of alternates. I will say this, they're going to wear it one time. So whatever, right? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you made this all for one game. So whatever.
It looks like a bad helmet that you make on your fantasy football site to put up for your team.
I like that, actually. That's a good take. Yeah, kind of look. Yeah,
everybody's got their helmet.
Yeah, it looks
like that would looks like one that would be made on a rudimentary website for your fantasy football team.
Or it's in Madden, like it's only in Madden or something.
Yeah,
like one of those. You know what it is? It's one of those helmets. Riddell makes the fake helmets that they get players to sign. They're not players. They're not helmets they wear on the field, but they're these crazy color schemes that you can go get signed and people have them to display. I think that's what. It looks like a display helmet that they brought to life. I think that's what it is.
Yes. And here's one. Let's see. Is this a jump the shark moment for the Dallas Cowboys and their branding? They have announced they have a sponsorship deal with Aristocrat Gaming, which is a slot machine company, they're going to have in-game ads on the Jumbotron, slot machine style, with, I assume, Cowboys logos. And then I would like to assume that there would be actual Cowboys slot machines in, like, casinos, not in Texas because they don't have any. You'd have to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to happen there. Cowboys slot machines. Do you put your name on anything?
I'm actually surprised there isn't an NFL deal in general for this. Aren't you? I'm a little surprised there's not already something
what?
in place.
That there are there must be Raiders slot machines in Vegas, right?
I would think so. And
there's got to be.
I mean, I would think that every team in their jurisdiction would want this, right? I mean, that's what I'm saying.
If you get 3 Brock Purdy's, you hit the jackpot.
Well, I don't think you can use players. I think you just got to use the logo.
Oh.
I think you got to use that.
Just the logos.
According
just the
to
logos.
Fox Business, we were just talking about the Ravens. Raiders slot machines debuted. It's not giving me a date here, but they have already debuted. Raiders
this is
did.
Vegas, so that's a pass. Anything gambling with a Vegas team, pass. Like, what are you going to say?
Yeah.
But in the Cowboys slapping the star on some slot machines in a casino in Oklahoma.
There are actually
okay.
Hold on, because so I am right here. There are NFL branded slot machines as of last July, and they let you pick your favorite team to theme out whenever you're playing on them. So yeah, they do exist. It lets you pick your team on it. So I guess this
all
is
the Cowboys people that
exclusively-
love to mess with me, they're listening to this, are going to send me ridiculous bad jokes about dumb commander slot machines that you can't win. Stuff like that.
yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Or
Yeah.
Well, no, there's also now a bunch of other jokes where there's like jokes about the Lions or jokes about Ridley, like if you want to do the Falcons or the Jaguars, you can go that route too if you wanted to. So yeah.
To win the commander slot machine, you got to get 3 major tutties. They have to go right across the board. 3 major tutties.
If you lose, does it show?
I got a Heineke, a Wentz, and a Case Keenum.
Oh no!
And now I owe the slot machine money.
You owe the slot, and it's Gron saying guys, and then takes all your money away.
Guys.
Or
takes your money away.
If it you get your last spin and you run out of money, it shows the video of the railing falling over in front of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. But if you win, Magic Johnson smiling.
That's right.
3 times
there
in
you
a
go.
row. You win. Jackpot. You got it. The whole thing.
This is so bad.
And it just screams, "Thank you, Josh," at you.
Thank you, Josh.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it tells you.
Terrible.